What's up, everybody? It is time for my latest vlog. This week, I wanted to talk about Avengers Endgame, and I wanted to talk about Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3. It's a few days past this past weekend in which everyone should have had a chance to watch, those that are fans of those events. And if you haven't, then don't watch this right now. Go watch them if you are a fan that hasn't had a chance to, because I will be spoiling a lot of stuff. And so that's up to you if you want to get it spoiled or not. And if you're not a fan, then just omit this. But what I want to do is I want to do a review of both of them, and then I'm going to tie them together at the end with something that you can take away from both of them that remains consistent with my usual vlogs, which deal with power of positive thinking and removing destructive thought patterns from your life. This past weekend, we have witnessed two of the most anticipated show events in, I guess, definitely the last. I mean, these have both been culminating for almost 10 years. Game of Thrones, I believe, started in 2011. And from the very first episode, you had the first vision of the White Walkers, who were basically the army of the dead. They are an army of men and women that have been changed into these winter zombie-like creatures that live north of a gigantic wall made of ice that I believe is like 1,000 feet tall, that is designed to keep them out because these beings have been an issue in the past. And so for 8 seasons worth of material, we have been waiting for the moment in which this army of the dead, the army of White Walkers, would clash with the army of the living, the humans. We've grown to love a lot of the characters in the Game of Thrones franchise, and so we are here at that moment. Simultaneously, also this weekend, was Avengers Endgame, which was the final Avengers movie in a series of Marvel movies that started, I believe, with the first Iron Man movie. So Robert Downey Jr. back in, it's got to be over 10 years ago when Iron Man 1 came out, and he kicked everything off. And now we are here. We have reached the moment where we've been able to see the conclusion on that as well. I'll go into Endgame. And I want to just basically say I thought it was an awesome movie overall. Tons of excitement. It was 3 hours long, but you really don't even notice that it's 3 hours long. It flies by because you are so basically captivated by it. The main thing that I want to take away from that I want to talk about is the interesting time travel aspect of it. In this versus, say, Back to the Future time travel, if you go into the past and you interact with anyone, whatever actions you do back in the past, you will then affect your present state of reality once you come back. So you've got, in Back to the Future 2, somehow Biff gets the Farmer's Almanac from the future, goes back into the past, into the 1950s, starts betting, and then Marty McFly comes back to the year 1980, 85, and Biff has changed the entire reality. Like, he has taken over everything, and now it's all matched to him being rich because he bet everything correctly from the almanac, the sports almanac, I'm sorry. And so in this Avengers take on time travel, however, you can go into the past, but whatever you do then will not affect your present state of reality. So this movie is set in the year 2023. In the year 2023, you can travel back in time, and you can do things to, basically, in their case, they need to undo the fact that Thanos destroyed literally half of the life in the universe. They want to undo it. They want to put it back the way that it was. So they discover how to time travel through the quantum realm by way of technology that Ant-Man had. And they use that to go back, grab all of the Infinity Stones, and essentially put them together before Thanos ever gets them assembled in Infinity Wars, the first part. So in the first part, Thanos gets all the stones together. He snaps his finger and half the population wipes out. So the Avengers are going to go back and they're going to grab those stones before Thanos gets them, and they're going to do the same thing. But again, the fact that your present moment is not affected by what you do in the past. When you go back into the past, they go back, and one of the greatest examples of how this is true is the present Nebula, the 2023 Nebula in this movie, who is one of Thanos' daughters. She actually ends up killing the past Nebula. So her 2014 Nebula, they have a confrontation, and the present 2023 Nebula kills the past one, and she does not blink out of existence, because even though her past self has just been killed. There are a few other examples like that. That's the main one. And then there's also, at the end, there is Captain America. He goes into the time machine at the very end because he needs to put the stones back in place the way that they originally were before any of this happened. And then things will just go on as they have now been remade, where everybody is back in the universe. And so he goes back to put all of those stones back. This is at the end of the movie. He goes back to put them back, and then the Incredible Hulk tries to bring him back from the quantum realm after he's already traveled back to the future. He's supposedly placed the stones. So Incredible Hulk is calling him back into the present state of reality in 2023, but he doesn't come back in the machine. And so they're looking around, and then they look, and there in the distance, there's an old man sitting on a bench by a pond. So they go up, they walk up. Sure enough, it's Captain America as an old man. So a lot of people are saying, how is this possible? This is, how can that happen? How can he go back and live a life and marry his love, Peggy Carter, and then live until being an old man and come back into this form of reality? Because he's no longer Captain America as you would know him. He's no longer the guy that, comes back into Avengers and does all of those things. Here's what you got to remember. Everything that happens in your present state, whatever is going on, your past, when you go back, it does not affect it. So you've got to look at everything as in 2023, for the case of the Avengers, they're moving along a timeline. When they jump back to, in Captain America's case, he jumps all the way back to the 1940s. He jumps back as he's living this is where his actual timeline is still taking place. Even though he's back in the 40s, he's still right here. So he's already lived this much life. In 1945, he was frozen. He emerges in 2011 in the first Avengers, and then he keeps going this way. So he's now jumped back. It's 2023. He's jumped back. He's here, and even though he's jumped back, this is still the main one that's going like this. Everything is present reality for him. So he's still he's making new memories. So for him, from his perspective, even though it's back in 1945, he's still living a existence in which he's compiling information based off of his experience that goes all the way up to 2023. He's living a present reality where he's making new memories and new events are happening for him. They do not affect the other Avengers because they are still in their present reality. They are aware of all of the things that the Captain America from the Avengers, as originally carried out, they are still remembering and aware and affected by the events of that. Everything that Captain America does once he jumps back is in addition to that, just for Captain America, not for them. So they've still got their own stuff going. So Captain America, now everybody is saying that he needed to jump, use the wrist thing for the quantum generator to jump back into reality with the other Avengers in order for it to make sense. I don't think that you need to do that. Captain America could have jumped back, and the moment that in the first pass through, Captain America gets frozen in the ice in like 1945, he could have went and started sweet talking good old Peggy Carter. They hit it off. They get married from that point, and they live a life where he didn't have to even interact with anybody else up until the moment where he steps over and walks up to that park bench and he meets up with those Avengers. He knows that they're going to be there. They're going to live their life. They're going to still have all of their memories of Captain America and everything as it is. He's just now, he added on essentially like 60 years where he's jumping back in the same position with them. So that's an interesting thing where you can jump into the past and it's still only adding to your present memories. You're not changing anything about yourself. So that's what I wanted to just comment on about Avengers. There's a lot more to it. That's where I'm going to leave it for that. Now, I want to talk about Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, okay, we've got Season 8, Episode 3, where we are talking about the Army of the Dead, some 100,000 strong army of basically all of the wildlings and anybody that was north of the wall. The Night King has changed them all into these winter zombies. They have captured a dragon from Daenerys. This dragon, they turned the dragon, and that dragon is now a death, like a frozen winter dragon that can breathe blue fire. It destroys the wall. The wall comes down, and the Army of the Dead is marching on Winterfell. Winterfell has assembled the entire north and some of the south, minus Cersei and Jurgen, because they're jerks and they're going to try to take over everything after the battle in the north takes place between the Dead and the Starks and basically everyone else. So we have two of the greatest, we have possibly the greatest assembly of regular humans since probably you got to go back into the era of, I don't know, past time of Aegon the Conqueror, where they were all using dragons and whatnot. In the George R.R. Martin lore, if you want to get back into maybe a possible territory where there might have been a battle on this scale. But this battle is massive. The Army of the Dead, I believe, is still they largely outnumber the Army of the Living. The Army of the Dead are like super fast. They're like kind of like World War Z style zombies. They are not like slow moving, like grunting, like they can't do anything. Like they're not like that. They are fast moving. Anyways, I thought it was an awesome episode. The episode itself was, overall, I'm going to say that it was a very good episode. Here are a couple of issues that I had with it, though. So, Game of Thrones has become known as a franchise that it became famous for the fact that no one is safe. You don't know who might get it in any given episode. You've got some of your favorite characters that are, you love them, and the next moment their head is lobbed off, like literally lobbed off, i.e. Ned Stark season 1. And then you've got Robb Stark, and you've got his wife, you've got Catelyn Stark. They all get it at the Red Wedding. Walder Frey has his men come out, and literally Catelyn Stark gets her head, like her throat slit right in front of everyone. Robb Stark's pregnant wife gets she gets murdered and in a very brutal, ugly way. These things happen in this show. So now we get to this episode where we're talking about the Army of the Dead, and these guys are insane. In this episode, you would expect, there were predictions everywhere of all the different characters that were going to go. We were waiting for it. This episode, though, I felt like it reverted back to standard Hollywood rules in which we're going to treat everything for the viewer as if it's like a roller coaster where, ooh, there's going to be some ups and some downs, and oh, that's kind of suspenseful, but guess what? Nobody's going to die because it's a safe roller coaster, and nobody's going to die. We're just going to have a little bit of fun. Game of Thrones was the type of show where if you're on a roller coaster, somebody or a few people are probably going to die before the end of the ride. That's how Game of Thrones was. And in this case, they didn't really do that. So you've got a massive showing of both sides. It's going to be the most vicious battle. The only people that went were people that you expected that would really go. There's really no point for them to be there, or that they are ready to go, such as Ed from the Night's Watch. Who cares about Ed from the Night's Watch? Seriously. Then you've got Theon, he was ready to go. He dies at the hands of the Night King. That's not really that unexpected. Jorah Mormont, and he dies a good death. He dies fighting Daenerys. It wasn't like a random, some winter zombies running up and stabs him and he's dead. It wasn't like that. He had a long, hard fight. But all of the other characters, you've got Jaime, you've got Brienne, Jaime Lannister, you've got Lady Brienne of Tarth, you've got Sir Davos. Sir Davos, like, randomly pops up and just, he's staring at people. I don't even see him I don't know if he's ever even swung a weapon in that episode. But somehow he just randomly pops up and he looks at Lady Melisandre. He looks at Arya. And then he conveniently goes back to wherever he's been hiding and nothing happens to him. So these people all survive. I'm talking, okay, Samwell Tarly is literally buried in a pile of White Walkers that are all trying to stab him. And somehow he does not die. Samwell Tarly. Okay, I mean, I love these characters, but seriously, some of them could have gone and should have gone if they wanted to keep it, I felt, realistic with the whole theme of what George R.R. Martin does. So there's that aspect. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the battle strategies. So you've got the Dothraki horde that are awesome. These guys are like brutal, and they are like some of the most vicious warriors in the entire Game of Thrones universe. So they are on horseback. They are deadly, whether with bows and arrows or with their swords. They're on horseback. They are the very front line of defense for Winterfell. There's several thousand of them on horses, and they have their scythe-like weapons. Here's the problem. They are not Valyrian steel weapons. They are not dragon-glass weapons. Those are the only two types of weapons that will kill White Walkers. They don't have those. So, luckily, but unknown to them, there would be no way to know in the film until Lady Melisandre comes walking up out of nowhere and has them raise their swords up. She puts her hands on one of the swords all burst into flames. It's an amazing, awe-inspiring moment. You see these swords burst into flames, and all across these thousands of Dothraki horse lord warriors, their sides all light up with fire. It looks amazing. So, but had she not come, the armies, the people that were in charge of setting this army up would have been knowing that they are still the front line without weapons that can even kill the White Walkers. So had Melisandre not shown up to make them at least flaming scythes, they would have been using weapons that are ineffective at actually killing the White Walkers. So what were they thinking? Were they thinking that they were just going to stomp on the White Walkers with their horses to death and maybe hack off some limbs, but they're just going to keep living? And that's going to be the first defense? So anyways, they go and they charge. They charge then, and as they're charging into the night, we know that the Night King and all of his forces are somewhere across this vast field, and they're waiting for the humans to come and get them. In this version, like, the humans go and they attack them instead of just waiting for the Night King and his forces to come to them. I thought that was really dumb. They're sitting there using their catapults for literally like 5 seconds. They send like a few barrages of fireballs into the army of the dead, and you see this moment where the Dothraki are charging, and it's this awesome visual spectacle where you see everything aglow with their sides on fire, and it's this mass of fire, and it's just traveling across this field. You got Jon Snow and you got Daenerys up on a mountain, dismounted from the dragons. They're watching it happen, and it looks great. You got this feeling of, it's about to go down. And you got the catapults sending fireballs over their heads. You're like, yes, let's do this. And then they hit that wall of the dead, and they literally just get consumed by them, just annihilated by the dead. You watch it then from the view of the rest of the host that's in the back, and you got everyone is just seeing all of these lights. All that they can see is lights of fire basically getting extinguished. And it dies down and dies down and dies down. So here's what I'm saying. Why in the world would you send them? Why would you not use them as a force to be deployed from the edges? Wait till the Night King comes to you and use them to like come in from the sides while you've got the main assault still getting nailed by the people all along the wall of Winterfell. Not only that, but why are you using your catapults for literally 5 seconds? Why are you not sending those fireballs out for literally the entire night? Why are you using them for that brief period of time? They have to come to you. You can use those fireballs and you can be destroying thousands of them. The Winterfell people, they know the territory. Why have they not set up towers that are further out? Make them high towers that have window slits in them. Give 5 people unlimited amounts of arrows, fire arrows, or dragon glass tips, and you're just sitting there, you're picking off White Walkers. They have to overwhelm your entire tower before they bring you down. This would have helped out a lot. I'm just saying. The Winterfell people would have known better than what we saw in that show. So what I believe happened was you've got the directors of that particular episode, they bought into the fact that, you know what would look awesome? Let's just send out the Dothraki with fire swords and it's going to look really cool. But they're all going to die right away. Like, that's basically the only explanation for why they would do that. Because we know from past warfare in the books, they conducted themselves with strategy that was wise. Not so much on this one. All right, so those 2 things. There's one more I want to talk about. Everybody likes to talk about Arya. There's a lot of questions about Arya killing the Night King. So I have no problem with Arya killing the Night King. Arya is awesome. Arya is absolutely legit. She can absolutely kill the Night King if she wants to. I mean, she's capable of it. It's well within her power. Them having her do it is not a stretch to me. She was over in Braavos becoming the Faceless Man. The Faceless Man was somebody that, like, basically she learned how to be extremely stealth. She learned how to fight and to do things in the shadows. She learned how to become other people. She learned how to become other people so much to the extent that she could wear a face and she could make people believe that she really was somebody else. She could kind of morph into them. And we saw this when she came back from Braavos. She posed as a servant's girl for Walder Frey, the guy that did the Red Wedding and killed her brother and her mother. She posed as a servant girl, then went up behind him and slit his throat. So we know that she's capable of doing this. She had her little bag of faces with her. She was talking to Sansa about it. So her coming and killing the Night King is not out of the question. Here's the thing, though. When the Night King was approaching Bran, we all knew. We got to that spot. Jon Snow is being distracted by the dragon that's breathing fire out of its throat because it had its throat ripped out by the other dragon. But it's still alive under the power of the Night King. He's distracted by the dragon. He can't get there. So as I'm watching it, I knew that it was either going to come down to either the Night King is literally going to kill Bran or it's going to be Arya. Now, I was watching commentary afterwards. They had the directors saying, no, we just hope that people are going to forget about Arya. You know, at this point, there's a lot of roles going on. But no, I don't think anybody forgot about Arya. They had her just basically jump out of nowhere. She flies, he grabs her, she drops the Valyrian steel dagger from one hand to the other, pop, stabs him in the ribs. It's all over. Everybody explodes, and the army of the dead is no more. They all die from that one stab wound in their leader, who is, they have kind of a hive type of leadership where you kill the queen and all of them die. So what I think should have happened, this is why they should have had me write for the show. What they should have had happen was everything happens as it did. He's walking up, he sees Bran there, he goes up to grab his sword just like he does. He's getting ready to kill Bran, and Bran hops out of his wheelchair, takes that dagger from underneath his cloak, pop, stabs him. The Night King explodes. Bran pulls his face off. Surprise, it's Arya. That would have been way cooler. Just saying, that's how it should have been. They should have had me right on it. Then you can have Bran hiding behind a tree somewhere, and Arya goes back to behind the God's Wood, and there's Bran sitting. That would have been epic. It would have been really freaking cool. They could have done it that way. They didn't. But with that being said, in the tale of the season 3, episode 8, the fact that Arya killed the Night King, it's very well in place with what could have happened, and it's believable in that aspect. So I want to tie in just a little bit now of both of these things into something that I was thinking about as far as the destructive thought patterns goes. In the destructive thought pattern category, you've got similar to what the Night King, I was thinking about how the Night King, when they pierce him with that blade, he dies. He explodes, and the entire Night army dies with him. And it got me thinking about how there are destructive thought patterns in our minds that we are thinking one incorrect thing about ourselves, and that one thing is holding us back from everything. And if we could just take away that one thing, that one falsehood that we're believing that's holding us back, the potential to do so many things that we are actually capable of opens up to us, and we go for it because we are aware that there is nothing holding us back anymore. So I was thinking about it, and I think that the thing that the word that came back to me was unworthy. If I feel unworthy about something, I feel like I can't do it, I'm inadequate, I'm not good enough for it. And there are different reasons why we could feel unworthy. We could feel unworthy because of memories that we've got inside of us of something that we've done in the past failures, where something that happened in the past happened here, and we're allowing it to determine what happens in our present moment right now. Now, here's where the Endgame comes in. Avengers Endgame. Just because something happens in your past, that has nothing to do with your present state of reality. This is nothing. It was an event that was a memory. Your present reality right here is all that you have, and it's all that matters, and you've got opportunities right here. So if you can erase this moment, and if you can come to a spot where you can say that just because something happened in the past, that does not need to affect my present state of reality. That is something that can unlock that. Other things that I think that get in our way is that we just have a hard time accepting the fact that we are capable of it. We have a hard time accepting the possibility that when an opportunity comes that is in front of us, where we have a chance to extend ourselves and to put our neck on the line for something that's for our good, or maybe for somebody else's good. Sometimes we step back into that shell and we say, no, that's not me. I'm not good enough for that. I'm not capable of it. It's got to be somebody else. And the event walks right past us. And what it takes, all that it takes, it does not take somebody that is perfect to accomplish things that are great. It does not take somebody perfect to accomplish things that are great. It just takes somebody that is willing. So all that you need to do is be willing. Be willing to take an opportunity when it's right in front of you. I believe that everything happens for a reason. That there is a destiny, and there is a free will. And somehow at that moment, when you come to that spot here and now, where something comes your way, and it's maybe an opportunity to show love to somebody, or maybe it's an opportunity to find the love of your life. Maybe it's the opportunity to get a better job. Maybe it's the opportunity to I don't know, avoid getting in a car wreck, or to help somebody that's just had a car wreck, to help a homeless person, any of these things. Like, this opportunity is here and you are here. They are coinciding at the same moment. And you have a chance to better yourself or better the world around you. And these things are holding you back that you got in your mind. They're holding you back from accomplishing those things. Your present moment is all that matters. Your past events have nothing to do with what you are capable of doing right here. Remove that memory. Remove the fact that you can go into your past and that has anything to do with this, because it doesn't. And just like the Night King, pierce that lie that says that you are unworthy. Watch the army of the dead of excuses that keep holding you back. Watch them all die. And then stand up and move forward in the life that you've been meant to live. That's what it's all about. I want to leave you with a statement that I used in my last vlog. It was, the possible only becomes possible the moment that you believe that it is. So I want that to just sink that in. The possible only becomes possible the moment that you believe that it is. Opportunities that are happening in front of you, they are there, and they are yours for the taking if you just believe that they can be possible for you to do them. Start with that. Thanks, you guys. This was a longer one, but it was fun. And just subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. I love you guys. Have a great week.